is up, Cup Check fans? I'm here with my co-host, Zach Crutchfield, who's over here sporting the shades. Zach, how you doing today?
I'm not gonna lie. I think we're both a little sleepy, but we're gonna have to power through this to get the fans what they want.
Definitely both a little tired, but you know what? That doesn't matter because me and Zach are coming at you with our first base rankings. Shout out to our third base ranking video. Did pretty well, had a pretty drippy thumbnail. If you're new to Cup Check, go check out the Instagram that is predominantly ran by Zach. Zach, do you know the official tag for the Instagram? I think it's in our YouTube banner.
Cup check _PC.
So yeah, if you're not following the Insta, go check it out. We're at 68 followers. So you could go be the lucky 69. So Zach, kicking us off with our first base rankings. I expect another unanimous one, I'm guessing. Guessing just based off of how high that you rank Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
Yes, Vladdy is number one.
Let's go. All right. Yeah. I mean, we don't need to talk about Vladdy too much. I mean, the dude is just an absolute animal. He really broke onto the scene last year. And he's in that. I mean, he is what makes that Toronto offense so high powered for the most part. 48 bombs last year, 311 average. Just sounds like a number one overall first baseman to me. Zach, who do you have at the number 2 spot for first basemen?
Number 2, I got Freddy Freeman. I would assume you have Freddy Freeman.
I do not.
Really?
Going against the grain early
Oh
here.
my gosh. All right. Well, I have Freddy Freeman. I think that he should be the unanimous number 2 choice. Freddy Freeman produces every year. I don't think he's on Vlad's level, but these guys behind him, there's just no way. Who do you have?
Pete Alonso. I want Polar Bear Pete as my number 2 first baseman. I'm not gonna tell every viewer out there to go draft Polar Bear Pete over Freeman. But I do love me some Pete Alonso. If you look at last year, the dude really dropped the K percentage and the bombs are consistent. Zach wants to talk about how Freddie Freeman is Mr. Consistent. Pete Alonso is probably the safest bet for over 35 bombs every single year. Pete Alonso is my boy. I'm calling it. It's going to be his breakout year. He's still in his prime, unlike Freeman, who's getting older.
His rookie year wasn't his breakout year with 53 home runs.
Dude, I mean, it's like Eminem at this point. Eminem is like the GOAT, and he just drops every album. And, there's some bangers on there, but people just don't like it because, I don't know, they have the bar set so high. But, I mean, Pete goes out there and hits 260 with 37 home runs last year, and people don't give that the respect it deserves. All right. People are all like, oh, Aaron Judge this, Aaron Judge that. Pete Alonso is the budget Aaron Judge, and he's healthier. He's going to go out there and put up solid averages with really good home runs, and that's why I love Pete Alonso.
2020 Pete Alonso was terrible. He ended up with decent stats because the last week of the season he went off. That man was a waiver wire player in 2020.
I mean, Pete, sure. That's why I'm ranking him higher. Is he fixed the strikeout rate at the end of last year? He was striking out like I want to say it was like 18% or 15% of the time. I might have to pull it up here real quick. But if he drops that K rate with that massive power, there's no reason for me not to think that he can outperform an aging Freddie Freeman, who might be out of his comfort zone, especially if he doesn't go back to Atlanta.
Freddie Freeman led the league in runs last year. He got the MVP in 2020. He hit 31 home runs last year, and he batted 300.
Why don't you rank him number 1?
Because of Vladdy.
Dude, I'm just I think Pete Alonso is going to break out and just have a really phenomenal fantasy season. And you know what? Everyone loved Joey Votto at the similar age of Freddie Freeman is now. And I was the same. I drafted the Joey Votto in like 2018 or something really high, and he just fell off a cliff.
Joey Vado and Freddie Freeman are kind of different.
Not really. One of them's a Hall of Famer and one isn't. Yeah, Joey Votto is going to be a Hall of Famer before Freddie Freeman will be.
They're both Hall of Famers.
I don't think you can make that case.
And Freddie Freeman is on a much better track.
I disagree firmly. Pete Alonso has played 3 years in the major leagues, and every year to absolute nukes. 53 in the first year, 16 in that shortened year, and then 37 last year. All right, it's not unreasonable to think that someone who's finally been in the league for a little bit now is going to have their breakout monster year. All right. And I just think he's a safer bet for more bombs. I want more bombs out of my first baseman. So, I mean, Zach, I'm ranking Freddie Freeman at my number 3. Like, I'm not.
I mean, I'm ranking Pete Alonso at my number 3, but he's not better than Freddie Freeman.
I'm willing to rank him over because you know what? Eventually, you got to make some hot takes on your list. You can't just.
This was Pete Alonso in 2020. Now I know it's 2020, but like Pete Alonso in 2020 in July, he hit 1 home run. Granted, only 8 games. August, he had 5 home runs. He batted .217 in August, and then finally he hit 10 home runs in September/October.
In the second half of the year last year, Pete Alonso hit .275 with 20 nukes. And that's one half of the season. So you're telling me I can get a guy that's almost hitting .280 with 20 bombs in half of a season, and I can get him like 3 rounds cheaper, maybe 4, maybe 5 rounds cheaper than what I had to pick Freddie Freeman at? Give me all of Pete Alonso.
All right. So you have Freddie Freeman at 3. I have Pete Alonso at 3. Yep. 4, I have Goldschmidt.
I have Matt Olson. Zach's really riled up over here. Are you not liking? You're really liking. I mean, I'm a Cardinal fan. Like, I don't dislike the ranking of Goldschmidt. I got Goldschmidt coming up in a second here.
I mean, I have Olson coming up in a second, but I just think like I have no problem with you putting Olson over Goldschmidt. I think that's fine. But I just like Goldschmidt, an aging Goldschmidt where people think he's like past his prime, and he is past his prime, but last year he still hit 31 home runs with a .294 average.
Yeah, I mean, that's a phenomenal season. He had a bit of a resurgence. To me, I just saw Matt Olson hit 39 nukes with .270 average. Like, I mean, Paul Goldschmidt is not going to go get you 40. Like, 31 bombs is probably a pretty. I mean, I don't know if we can expect 31 bombs again this next season from Goldie, especially a shortened season potentially. And, you know, Busch Stadium's kind of a tough ballpark. Goldschmidt's one of those guys who just really like goes off in the second half for the most part, especially if they like smell like a playoff chance. He's one of those guys that kind of elevates. And something that Goldschmidt does that these other guys don't do. I mean, Goldschmidt is older, but he's still stealing a few bases. I mean, he got 12 bags last year, which is just nice to randomly get a bag from your first baseman every now and then. So that's why I have Goldschmidt at my number 5 after Olson.
Yeah, I have Olson at number 5.
I mean, I'm just seeing like slight regression from Goldschmidt, but still like really fantasy relevant and like one of those top first basemen that you're going to want on your team.
Yeah.
So who do you have coming in at number 6?
6, I have Jose Abreu. Same kind of thing as Goldie. The consistency, he's a little older than Goldie, actually entering his age 35 season. He's getting up there. But he just keeps producing. And for just like a redraft league, it's hard for me to put him any lower, especially in the White Sox lineup right now. He gets a lot of RBI, decent amount of runs, a lot of home runs, and his average is usually solid as well. So
I don't think you're gonna like who I have at my number 6.
Who?
Joey freaking Vado. That's right. I got Joey Vado coming in at 6. This one's gonna make me look like a genius, or it's gonna just crash and burn for me. But just a quick little Google search into Baseball Savant. Joey Votto's back. Like the exit velos are there. The stats were there. Like the one thing I'm a little concerned about is the Reds as a whole, especially losing Olson, or not Olson. Sorry, it's getting late.
Castellanos?
Especially losing Castellanos. Votto might not have that like just lineup like generation, like just the production coming from the lineup that it was last year. Joey is getting what? Yeah. Is that your first time seeing it? It's insane.
I haven't seen his Baseball Savant in a while.
Is that not impressive?
It's crazy.
You want to read some of it off for us or no?
Average exit velo is 93%. Hard hit percentage 96. Expected slugging 97. Barrel percentage 95.
Yeah. Zach, what's that little like thing he does in the on deck circle? Can you like do it for us real quick?
Fast swing, like.
Yeah. I mean, hey, it must have worked. I mean, he's in the 97th percentile in walk as well, and hard hit percentage. Like Joey Bats, man. Joey Bats.
All right. I mean, you didn't make my list. And it's hard for me to be optimistic.
I mean,
it's hard for me to be optimistic as a Reds fan, but
I mean, after seeing the Savant page, you're telling me you're not like, oh shoot, I probably should have at least given him a 10 spot. I mean, the dude hit 36 bombs last year, Crutch. Like, come on.
I have no argument. And the Baseball Savant's impressive. Maybe I'm just a pessimist.
You are indeed a pessimist. Who do you have at 6, or did you already say that?
I said Jose Abreu for 6, but 7, I have Muncie.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. Muncie should be left off your list.
Why is that?
In Monday's interview on MLB Network, Muncie said that he isn't healing as quickly as anticipated, and he has sustained a torn UCL in addition to a dislocation in his left elbow.
Once he's injured?
Muncie is literally just like in crutches probably right now. Like from that little sum up that I just read on him, like he sounds like Mr. Glass right now.
Okay.
Muncie said that's what happens when you do some serious damage to your body. A torn UCL is a slow process. So, I mean, Muncie just doesn't seem very optimistic about playing himself. So I'm not going to, I mean, obviously a healthy Muncie's a top 10 first baseman, but, draft at your own risk tolerance, because this man has always had a bit of an injury thing. And I don't know, he does not sound the healthiest right now.
I forgot he got injured.
This man's like, oh, I should put Joey Votto on the list all of a sudden. Coming in at my 7, I finally have Jose Abreu. There's so many guys that I think are like so much more exciting than Abreu. Like if I'm at the 10th round of the draft or whatever, and I still don't have a first baseman, it's like I can pick Abreu, or I can wait a few rounds and go with Mountcastle. Like I'm probably not going to go the Abreu route just because I think there's some like better, cheaper options, but Abreu is going to be pretty consistent. He's going to get good RBI walks, and he should get you at least 25 homers. I mean, I'm kind of waiting to see if he's going to regress a little bit, because he's definitely getting up there in age. His average finally tanked a little bit last year, down to 260, but I mean, that's still pretty solid. Like I ranked Pete Alonso number 2, and he also hit 261 last year. So, yeah, feel free to roast me on the Instagram. Like if you don't like that pick, comment. But yeah, I got to bring you down a little lower. Just I'm ready to see some guys, kind of like some new faces on the list. Who do you have at 7 yourself?
I'm on 8 and I have Jared Walsh. Younger guy, kind of kicked Albert Pujols out of the league for a little bit until he signed with the Dodgers. But yeah, younger guy that has a lot of power potential. Hit a lot of home runs last year, and you can still get him at a pretty cheap price. So yeah, Jared Walsh at 8.
Yeah, I could definitely see Jared Walsh kind of having a pretty solid year. I mean, the Angels are going to need people to step up so they can finally make that playoff push. And if you're just an absolute OG Cup fan or Cup check fan, like dating back to the prehistoric eras, you would know that I ranked. You would know that I ranked Jared Walsh in my top 10 heading into last year, and he did it. But I have another shocker here coming in at my number 8 spot. Instead of going with Walsh, I'm going with Luke Voight. This is a man who I'm just not ready to write off yet because I had him on my team in that Yankees like COVID year. And that dude was so amazing. Like he was amazing. He was everything you could want in a fantasy player. He just like produced every single day. And I think last year was like just a fluky year for him. And I'm really pulling for him to like go sign with the Brewers or like something crazy to like kickstart his value, I guess.
Yeah,
I
on
think
one hand, he got injured last year, so that could have been a lot of the problem. But even when he was on the field, he really wasn't playing well. And the fact that he lost his job for the most part to Rizzo, I think that's what worries me most. So a lot of it will depend on if Rizzo signs back with the Yankees. Um, yeah, I don't think that's a bad pick, but I think we might have to see what happens with the Yankees with the rest of the offseason
yeah.
before really committing to Voight.
No, yeah, I agree. And I mean, I think it's always tough to perform when like like, oh, like he's in the lineup this day and he's like, oh well, if I don't perform today, Rizzo's gonna be in tomorrow. And that's gotta really like really hurt someone's pride because like he was the heart and soul of that Yankees team the year before. Just for them to like come in and try and replace him the next year, I feel like that's I mean, baseball is a business, but like, I mean, you gotta rock with your boys. And I think Luke Voigt, healthy with his confidence, is just as good as anybody out there. And I think that he's a good late round target this year because I mean, he either pans out and hits nukes or you drop him and move on. So
Yeah, you could get him at a really big discount. Okay, coming in at number 9 is Rhys Hoskins. He's a guy that one of the more frustrating fantasy players. But at this point in the first base rankings, I had to go with him because of he's still got the home run potential and he has not put it all together. But in 2020, he had 10 home runs in only 41 games. So that's kind of absurd. And
yeah,
then last
I had him on my team while he was doing that. I traded for him like as he was going ham Sam. And I was like, dude, this dude's legit. I need to swoop him up next year. And he just kind of let me down. Didn't really follow through with that. He got injured and then fell off a little bit.
yeah. Last year though, he only played 107 games and he still hit 27 home runs. So like, holy cow.
Pretty
So if
solid.
he can put together a full season, he doesn't hit for a super high average, but it's really consistent. His career batting average is 241, so like not great. But if you're in an OBP league, he does walk quite a bit. Um, his OPS plus is like well over 100 every year, so better than league average. And yeah, like he's a guy that was a big prospect, hasn't put it all together, but he still has that potential to like really blow up. Only 28, so or 29, one of the two.
Yeah, and Philly needs him to blow up so they can kind of break through and make it to the playoffs. And with Freddie Freeman getting older, getting passed up by Pete Alonso, and maybe leaving that division, there's going to be some room for for the Phillies to kind of make a run for it. So coming at my 9, I finally have Jared Walsh, just a guy who I was high on last year. I think he's solid. And I think he's going to be in a really good lineup with Trout and Ohtani. Hopefully they're both going to be healthy at the same time. Knock on wood. So finishing us off, Zach, who do you have at number 10?
Well, number 10 used to be Rhys Hoskins, but now that I had to adjust my list, you've convinced me I have to throw in Joey Vado.
Let's go.
I would also, I'd like to make a formal apology to Joey for just always being disrespectful to him. But I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Would you like to throw Winker into that as well?
Yeah, it's just sometimes it's tough to be optimistic as a Reds fan. So I get a little hostile, but I want to include Joey and just I want him to know I appreciate him when he watches this video.
Yeah, facts. Joey, if you're out there, I'm a Cardinal fan, but I am more your fan than Zach is. So finishing off my list in the number 10 spot, I could not have a first baseman list without old Shane Taylor's favorite player of all time, CJ Crone. Now, this is a man who Shane, also knows my father, will talk for hours about just because you probably don't even have to draft CJ Crone. Like, he might be like the very last round of the draft. And last year he hit 281 with 28 bombs. So like solid average, solid nukes, 92 RBIs. Like, and this is a guy that, like, if he has a little bit of a home stint at Coors, like, you just know like you're gonna be sitting pretty that week in fantasy because you got CJ at Coors. Money. What do you think about CJ rounding out my list, Zach?
Yeah, I got nothing wrong with it. Can I make a hot take though? That's like I maybe shouldn't say.
Let's hear it.
I mean, he got caught up in the whole like Tyler Skaggs thing.
CJ Crone did?
He had to testify at court and stuff that he like admitted to buying opioids from like the Angels guy that was, I guess, like dealing out opioids. So this is like something that is like not necessary to say at all, but like that kind of, I mean, that's kind of crazy. Maybe that's gonna be like weighing on his mind, and he's like just gonna be down, not focused on getting better in the off season because he's just like going through a lot. But
yeah, I mean, I'll throw this out there that I rank home CJ Crone as a top 10 first baseman.
that's true. You can just pick him up when he's on a home stretch. That's what we used to do with who was that guy last year on the Rockies?
Tapia.
Yeah, Raimel Tapia. When he's on a home stretch, you pick him up.
I mean, at home last year, CJ Crone hit 326 with 19 bombs. So, I mean, pretty elite numbers. But when he was away, he hit 235 with 9 bombs. So just not a guy that you probably want every single day. But, you know, when he's at home, there's not going to be a lot of people better that you can just find off the waivers or late in the draft like this. So yeah, Zach, do you have any closing statements about the first baseman ranking? Like, was it hard to make your list? Like, what do you think?
It was. I mean, first base, it used to be like back in the day of just the first base boppers. You could just pick up whatever first baseman you want. They take you like 40 bombs.
Pujols, Vado, like all these guys were just beasts back in the day.
But like now, I feel like the athletes and like the best hitters are at shortstop, which is why shortstop's so stacked. And first base is a little tougher now, but there really are. I'm surprised how many good options there are. There's like reliable old guys, and there's some young up and comers as well. Like Olsen, he's not young, but yeah. So
Yeah, definitely. Would you say that this is a position that you want to target early in the draft, or kind of wait till later and kind of focus on other areas?
I don't think it's as urgent to get it early as much as like third base, because third base there's really those like top 5 guys that you gotta have. But here, even at the bottom of the list, there's guys that have really high potential. Like we were talking about Hoskins.
Yeah, I
If
mean,
Sh-
I didn't even rank Mountcastle. And like even if you have to just hit an absolute panic button, you can still find a Miguel Sano who can hit you like 30 bombs. Like,
yeah, so I don't think this is like quite as urgent unless you want to go for one of those Vlad, Freeman, Pete Alonso, Olsen type guys.
yeah, I mean, Pete Alonso might be the GOAT this year, but you heard it here first on Cup Check, everybody. Thank you for watching. Make sure to go check out the Instagram